first film in this series told you what to do in the meeting situation in daytime. Remember, the meeting rule applies when there is risk of collision with a vessel approaching you in this area, within approximately 1 point to either side of your course. You can usually tell when there is risk of collision by checking the vessel's masts. If they are lined up with your own, or nearly so, there is a definite risk of collision, and the meeting rule applies. The rule says, when two power-driven vessels are meeting approximately end-on, both must alter course to starboard and pass each other port to port. Neither vessel is privileged. In this film, we shall discuss vessels approaching in these areas in daytime, from approximately 1 point to either side of your course to about 2 points abaft your beam. Vessels approaching you either obliquely or at right angles in these areas are said to be crossing. You can tell if there is risk of collision in the crossing situation by taking repeated bearings on the other vessel. If they remain constant, or nearly so, you are on collision courses, and the crossing rule applies. The rule says, when two power-driven vessels are crossing and there is risk of collision, the vessel that has the other on her own starboard side must keep out of the way of the other. This means if a power-driven vessel approaches you from starboard and there is danger of colliding if you both continue on course, she is the privileged vessel and has the right of way. Under the rules, she must maintain her course and speed. You are called the burdened vessel. You must take positive action in ample time to avoid collision. But if a power-driven vessel approaches you from port, then, of course, you are to starboard of her. You now become the privileged vessel, and you must hold your course and speed. Since the other ship is burdened, she must take positive and timely action to keep out of your way. Let's see what the crossing situation looks like from the bridge. You're officer of the deck of a destroyer, and your lookout reports another power-driven vessel approaching off your starboard bow. If risk of collision exists, you know she is the privileged vessel and will maintain her course and speed. Take several bearings on her to see if there is risk of collision. If the bearing doesn't change appreciably, as in this case, you are on a collision course. A change in bearing must be considerable, as much as several degrees, to eliminate risk of collision. So, you're the burdened vessel. You must take some positive and timely action to pass the privileged vessel safely. You may stay on your course by slowing down, stopping the engines, or by backing down. The privileged vessel will cross ahead of you. From another angle, this action looks like this. If you wish, you may turn to starboard to pass astern of the privileged vessel. Be sure you change course in plenty of time. Never try to cross ahead of the privileged vessel. You're only inviting trouble. Once the privileged vessel is safely out of the way, you may turn back again to your original course. If you are the privileged vessel in a crossing situation, you must maintain your course and speed. The burdened vessel will maneuver out of your way. But suppose the burdened vessel doesn't appear to be giving you the right of way. She looks like she's trying to cross ahead of your bow. The rules say, when any power-driven vessel required by the rules to hold course and speed doubts another vessel is taking sufficient action to avoid collision, she may warn her of her obligation to keep clear by sounding the danger signal, 5 or more short, rapid blasts. But even if this signal doesn't awaken her to immediate action, you still must maintain course and speed until it becomes obvious she alone can't avert a collision. Only then can you depart from the rules to act to avoid an accident. Remember, a wrong maneuver by another vessel doesn't give you the right to continue into collision. You never have the right of way through another ship. So when it's obvious collision is imminent, act promptly. Sure, you're bitter. Maybe a little shaken up as well. You should be. It was a close shave. But remember, you've avoided a collision. You've upheld the rules, too, and that's important. The other vessel would be solely liable for all damages had you been unable to avoid colliding. If you are involved with a sailing vessel in a crossing situation, you are always the burdened vessel, even when she approaches from port. This carries out the rule that a sailing vessel always has the right of way unless she is overtaking you or unless you happen to be on a fishing vessel with nets, lines, or trawls out. No set of rules or regulations can completely cover the many borderline situations that arise on the seas. The rules of the road must be supplemented by the ordinary practice of seamen, defined as those actions that would normally be taken by any good sailor under the same conditions. Actions based on good seamanship, common sense, and experience handed down by generations of seafaring men. Each situation is different. Keep in mind any dangers to navigation or special circumstances, including limitations of any of the vessels involved that would make it necessary for you to depart from the rules to avoid immediate danger. For example, often you will find two ships approaching you, and no one rule will apply. For instance, in this particular situation, you are the privileged vessel in a crossing situation with Ship A and are required to hold your course and speed. However, you are meeting Ship B and are required to turn right. Obviously, you can't do both. Similarly, A is privileged with B, but she is burdened to you. Obviously, she can't obey both rules. Each of you must exercise good judgment not to allow the situation to develop into close quarters. Remember, timely action is the key to collision-free sailing. Here's what you would probably do in this situation. It is sometimes necessary to omit whistle signals. Too many, sounded close together, can be confusing. Remember, seaplanes taking off, landing, or operating under adverse weather conditions present unusual problems to safe navigation. The ordinary practice of seamen requires you to take timely and positive action to avoid collision. What you do depends on the particular situation, of course. In this film, you have seen what to do in a crossing situation in daytime. Let's review what we have learned. The crossing situation exists if a vessel approaches your ship in either of these areas, from approximately 1 point off either bow to about 2 points abaft your beam. You can tell when there is risk of collision by taking repeated bearings of the other vessel. If the bearing does not change appreciably, you are in danger of colliding, and the crossing rule applies. A power-driven vessel approaching from starboard is the privileged vessel and must maintain her course and speed. You are the burdened vessel and must take action to avoid collision. If a power-driven vessel approaches you from port, you are the privileged vessel and must maintain your course and speed. The other ship is burdened and must take any necessary action to avoid collision. She may hold course and reduce speed, stop, or even reverse engines to let you pass. Or she may change course to maneuver astern of you. The burdened vessel must never pass ahead of the privileged vessel. It only means trouble. If the crossing vessel is a sailing vessel, you are burdened, no matter whether she approaches from port or starboard. And remember, you will often find that special circumstances may require you to take some action contrary to the absolute letter of the rules. But no matter what action you take, you are always responsible for keeping a proper lookout, giving the proper whistle signal, and taking every precaution to avoid collision.